Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. Our aim today is to demystify the world of social media and give you some helpful tips on how to use it for your small business or charity. My name's Maisie Greenfield and I am the marketing manager here at Webmart. I've been in marketing now for almost 10 years, and prior to joining Webmart and being agency side, I've been on the customer side and helped market all sorts of businesses from retailers and wholesalers to engineering companies. And I've also been that one-person marketing team trying to do it all. So I know firsthand how difficult it is to find time for social media. And I'm joined by Charlotte, who I'll let Charlotte introduce herself.
Yep, I'm Charlotte Jenkins, digital strategist at Webmart. So I've spent over a decade consulting with small businesses and non-profits on their digital marketing strategy. And I've seen how really busy organizations with very little resource have run their social media. So hopefully I'll be able to take the stress away from your social media challenges and help you get really excited about social media for your business.
Nice. And we'll be guiding you through the world of social, covering the basics and how to get started, setting up your profiles on social media, then on to building some of your own content with hopefully some useful ideas on how to fit social media posting into your current routine. There will be a Q&A session at the end, but please feel free. Oh, Julie, I've just seen, oh, you're out. Okay. Julia didn't have any sound, but she's got it now. I was going to say, drop any questions in the chat box. I can see that as we go, and we'll do our best to cover them all at the end of the session. Thank you to the few of you that did submit some questions ahead of time. We'll get to those later on. And any that we don't have time for, please get in touch after the webinar and we'll be more than happy to answer them personally. So before we get started on social media, I'd love to just tell you a little bit about Webmart. We are a sustainable marketing agency. What does that mean? Well, we work with all sorts of businesses to craft printed and digital campaigns that not only deliver results for our clients, but one that has a positive impact on the environment. We have our own tools to calculate your carbon footprint, and then we'll work with you to reduce that as far as possible through switching things like paper formats or streamlining the number of steps on your website to complete a purchase, for example. And then we offset that remaining carbon emissions through gold standard climate partners, leaving us with carbon neutral campaigns. And we are also a very proud B Corp. We are celebrating our 3rd year of being a B Corp tomorrow, in fact. For those of you that haven't heard of a B Corp, we believe businesses should be a force for good and one that benefits the whole business ecosystem from employees right through to community. We also have a bright yellow head office, hence the bright yellow hoodie that I'm wearing today. It's known as the Yellow Shed of Wonderment in Bicester, and we also have a smaller but perfectly formed yellow shed in Barnsley, where we have creative meeting rooms to host clients and brainstorm campaign ideas, from a cinema room you'll see on the pictures to a medieval banqueting hall. We've even got our own airplane themed meeting room. We had a call the other day actually with a client and they genuinely thought we were on a private jet, which was funny and a little bit concerning. Hope we'd have our own private jet. But anyway, we also have our own forest in Scotland that we are rewilding as part of a 200-year project. This is known as our Oxygen Farm, and our employees can stay at the lodge for free, or it can also be booked on Airbnb should you ever fancy an escape to the wilderness. There's a little QR code and that'll take you to our website and you can find out more about the Oxygen Farm and that project if you're interested. So that's a little background to Webmart. You can, of course, find out more on our website, webmartuk.com. But now it's time to dive into the world of social media. So first of all, let's just talk about why you should be doing social media in the first place. You probably know that you should be doing social media. Every other business is doing it, and perhaps you're doing a little bit as well. But you might not know why you're doing it or even what you want to achieve. If this sounds familiar, let me assure you that you're not on your own. Charlotte, as a digital strategist, you'll be used to dealing with customers who are wanting to scale their social media marketing to the next level. But if we go back to basics, what are the benefits of using social media for business?
Yeah, so the fact is, and there's no getting away from it, social media can be a really powerful tool for businesses. It's probably where you'll find some, if not all, of your customers. With like over 5 billion people using social media around the world, the chances are your customers are there too. And also, people trust content that comes from social media more than they do traditional forms of marketing. And also, if your business doesn't have a website, which as a small business, that's absolutely fine. But having a presence on social media can actually help you provide all the information that a website would be providing to your customers without actually having to have a full-blown website. So it can be a really powerful information tool as well. But crucially, it doesn't matter how much or how little social media you're doing, it's really important to have a strategy behind it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And when we're talking about strategy for social media, for small businesses, all it means is knowing the why, the what, and the how of your social media activity. So for the benefit of those only just starting out, or even those that have made a start but want to just sense check that they're covering the essentials, where can small businesses start with their social media strategy?
Yep. So there are 5 main things. First of all, really, it's amazing how many businesses don't have any particular goal behind their social media. And even I'm talking like big businesses as well. They just overlook this first but really crucial step. And this is a really important part of it in terms of keeping your social media activity really focused and purposeful. So you're not just posting out content for the sake of it. So really take a step to think about why you're doing social media. Is it to keep customers informed of what's going on in your business, your opening hours, your like new products, your daily special, whatever it is? Is it information? Is it to drive people to your website? Is that the purpose? Are you trying to just get people off social and then onto your website so that you can do other things with them from there? Is it to grow your audience? Is it to raise awareness of your brand? Just take a few steps just to think about what it is you're trying to do. Secondly, brand consistency is really important as well. So really think about how to keep your brand consistent across your social media. It'll really help to cement you in your customers' minds. For example, if your posts all look completely different, if they're all different color schemes, and they might not resonate as much as a post that is all nicely consistent across different channels and from post to post. So think about your tone of voice, think about your layout, think about your color palette. When I'm talking about tone of voice, I'm thinking about your personality. What is it? Are you sort of friendly, informative? Are you playful? Like how are you coming across? And maybe try and just keep those things consistent. And by brand guidelines, I'm talking about, even if it's just an A4 piece of paper, that you can just map these things out and share with your team. Thirdly, it's all about consistency and regularity. So if businesses that post consistently, at least 4 times a week, say, see a 70% increase in engagement. So being consistent really helps to get that engagement going, because people expect to see regular posts from you and they'll look out for them as well. This doesn't mean posting all the time. Far from it. It could just be as simple as like just looking at how you and your team work. What does your day look like? And identify points in the day when social posting makes sense. They say, for example, a new habit is much more likely to be stuck to if you attach it to an existing habit. So say you ran a coffee shop, you might decide that posting on social works well, and a quiet moment just after you've set up and before you open the doors, do it then. Just look at your day and work out when the best time is to post, but make sure it's nice and consistent. Finally, and this is another important step that a lot of businesses overlook, is that social media is about being sociable. It's not about broadcasting. It's about joining in the conversation. It can be really off-putting if a business is there bleating on about themselves all the time. As much as you want to keep your customers informed, it's not all about you. So try and join in the conversation that's already there. Like, look at what your other businesses like you are doing. Like and comment on their posts. Share in other people's posts. Be be part of the conversation, don't just broadcast. Which brings us on to the next question, which is where you should be posting.
Yeah. So there are so many social channels out there at the moment. Some you may be more familiar with than others, some you might never even heard of. But I hope you'll be relieved to know that we're not going to tell you should have a presence on every single social media channel out there. The key is knowing your customers and where they're hanging out online. So if you don't know where your potential customers are online, then you can ask your real customers. Actual real life feedback is a valuable way of researching your market and finding out which platforms you should be prioritizing. And secondly, it's about knowing what channels you and your team are comfortable using. You know, you're a small team, you're very busy. Chances are that you aren't all marketing managers with loads of experience. So which ones do you use regularly? Think about why you like that platform, how it keeps you engaged, what type of content you interact with. And I'd also recommend choosing just one platform to get you started, build your confidence up, get into the rhythm of it, and then you can go from there.
Yeah, so we're going to focus in on just 4 main channels. So first, looking at the obvious ones, there's Instagram and TikTok, which are the most prevalent among the younger demographic. They're the most visually engaging, with lots of images and videos, but they also have some of the most engaged audiences too. So there's apparently 43% of TikTok users say they've made a direct purchasing decision off the back of a TikTok video they've seen. That includes charitable donations too. Also, charities that use Instagram Reels see a 30% uplift in donations. So it can be really powerful among the younger demographic. So Instagram has various ways you can share content. There are really 3. There's your feed, there's your stories, and then there's your Reels. So firstly, let's take your feed. These are displayed as squares on your main profile. This is what audiences see when they first load Instagram. But it doesn't have to just be a static image. You can upload multiple images. These are called carousels, or even videos. One great thing about carousels is that Instagram will give your content another chance to capture your audience's attention by showing the second or the third image instead of the first one on the feed. You can share your images or videos as a story, and these expire after 24 hours. And you can actually save your stories into your highlights bar under different categories as well. So you can make them last for longer than that 24-hour period. Then there are Reels, which are short videos, often with a trending theme or music behind them, which you can recreate yourself or post your own thing. These don't expire like stories do, and will continue to be shown to your audience on the Reels feed.
And similar to Reels is TikTok, which has its own main feed of short videos that try really hard to capture your attention in those first few seconds before the user swipes onto the next video. And TikTok's content strategy, how it chooses which content to show users, relies heavily on audio. So that's why you'll see loads of trending sounds and music that a lot of users will use on their own content, and that can help improve how your content is found. Additionally, you can use hashtags as well. So you can see these at the bottom of posts, and you can always click on them, see what other content is related to that hashtag, or you can search for your own. And it's also worth highlighting as well that education related content is actually sees the highest engagement on TikTok. So you could try things like behind the scenes, DIY tips if it's relevant for your brand, or educational content that aligns with your mission if you're a charity, sharing details on where the donations go, for example, or more about what you do as a business. But however you choose to get started, try not to feel overwhelmed with having to jump on all of these trends and challenges. It's great if you can, but it's important to get familiar with the platform first. See which ones align with your brand. You also have to be quite timely with trends. If you wait too long to create your own dance challenge, for example, it can be old news within a matter of days. So just start slowly and build up. And we'll go on to talking next about Facebook.
Yeah, so this is where the slightly older audiences found, but it's a great place for communities and fundraising purposes as well. It's really the go-to platform for community building, with groups and fundraisers being a key feature. So here on Facebook, you've got your main feed, which is where you can post text, images, videos. You can ask for recommendations. You can check into a location or venue. You can even start a fundraiser. But Facebook guides you through all these steps quite easily. It's quite user-friendly, really. Also, it has stories, just like Instagram, where you can share images or videos that last for 24 hours only. You can go live if you fancy broadcasting a live video directly from your phone. This is great if you've got an event or you're launching a new product. There's also Reels, just like Instagram, where you can share short videos which show up on a different feed. So it's worth mentioning that Facebook and Instagram are both owned by Meta, which means that you can link the two together. So that if you've done this, then if you post on one, then it can automatically post onto the other two, which can save a bit of time. Another great feature of Facebook is groups. So here you can create your own group or join one, and these can be private or public, and they can be around any topic, really. There are lots of small business support groups out there as well, which you can join, and you can share advice with other businesses and promote your brand. Plunkett even has a group, has all sorts of groups for different business types. So there's the Community Pub Network group. And local community groups are a great way to reach new customers or update existing ones. And they're a really highly engaged audience too. They want to know what's going on in your business and what's happening. If you're launching a new product, for example, it's a great place to go. But because they're so engaged, make sure that you join in that conversation, as I was saying before. Reply to comments, ask questions, answer questions. Just try and be super engaged, just like the audience will be. Also critically, actually, users can also review your business directly on Facebook, which can show up in your business profile too.
Yeah. Which brings us on to the business to business or B2B platform. So it's a great tool for non-profits or smaller organizations up to large companies looking for partnerships or even thought leadership. So the basics here on LinkedIn, if you're not familiar, you connect and follow people and businesses on your main feed. And then, like Facebook, there are lots of groups you can join. You just search keywords in the top bar and you can see what's out there. And you can filter these by posts, people, events, for example. And then here you can also share your content directly in these groups as well. So you could reach a new audience that aren't necessarily following your business page. Again, it's more of a conversation though, so you'll want to probably be a little bit more like your Facebook groups in those community groups on LinkedIn. And if you're sending out email newsletters, or perhaps you're adding regular content to your website, you can share that same content directly in LinkedIn newsletters. And this newsletter feature, it can generate 30% more engagement than the traditional posts. So it's a great way to update your followers with that longer form content. And it also means that people can subscribe to your newsletter, so you can reach a new audience that way, and they might not necessarily be following your business, so they can find you just through another avenue. And what I like with LinkedIn as someone who manages the business account is that I can easily toggle between personal and business profiles. So if I see a post on my own feed that I want to engage with as Webmart, I can click on the little profile icon next to the comment box, and then I'll be reacting as Webmart instead of my personal profile. And you can also have a separate feed in your business account where you can interact directly as the business. But it just means that if you're on there anyway, even if you're on there on your lunch break or whatever, and you see something that's relevant, you can actually increase your reach, increase your So if I like something as Webmart, it'll pop up on the feed that follows Webmart. Webmart likes this, Webmart commented on this, and it just keeps your brand top of that feed page, which obviously increases engagement and visibility. And that leads us actually quite nicely into the next section, which is all about building our profiles. So before we move on to the profiles, if you have any specific questions on platform choices, please drop them in the chat box as we go, and we'll pick them up at the end. So we'll move on to profiles. So you've chosen your platform. You think that's where your customers are going to be hanging out the most. You're familiar with that platform. But one thing businesses tend to forget is to build out their social profiles properly, or maybe not as complete as they could do. So which would be a problem if your customers are coming to you either to check you're still open or to check your most recent opening hours, especially if you don't have a website. So what are the basics that we should be covering, Charlotte?
Yeah, okay, so let's start with setting up your accounts. If you have an Instagram and Facebook account, as we mentioned before, you can link these together, although you need to set them up separately first, okay? So don't forget that when you set up your Facebook business profile, you need to do this from your personal account. So if you've got your personal Facebook account, then you build out a new business profile from there. Channels like Meta, who own Facebook and Instagram, they're really helpful. They've got all sorts of guides that walk you through all this if you need any help. So when you're building out your business profiles, think of it as a mini website, if you like. So build out as much information as you can, especially your contact info, like location, phone numbers, an email address. Link to your website if you have one. When you're building out your bio, use keywords that you think people might be searching for, so that this can help you get found actually when people are searching for those terms in Google or Bing. Upload a profile picture. Ideally, this would be a brand logo or your icon. Most social platforms actually have a banner image too, so this is something that you can update seasonally if you like to, around Christmas or whatever, or you can keep it generic throughout the year. Also, don't just build out your profile and forget about it. Keep it updated if things change in your business. So if your shop is shut for whatever reason, make sure it's updated on your profile. If your seasonal opening hours change as we're coming up to Christmas, then make sure you update them too, and keep these consistent across all your profiles.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And what about personal profiles? So a lot of us will have our own personal social media profile. Should you be posting business updates from your personal, or should it only be via the business account?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think start with your posting your content from your business accounts, but absolutely, you and your team encourage them to share this content from their personal accounts too. This sort of increases the audience of your posts really, and encourage more people to follow your business page. It's a great way to grow the awareness of your business. Employees can also share their own content on their own social profiles and tag in your company too, which is a great way of again growing awareness as well. This is known as employee generated content, and it's fast becoming a popular method of generating content with a more sort of organic feel, which we'll go on to next actually. It's also important to mention here that you can assign different people as admins on each of your social channels too, and you can set limits as to what they can do, what they can edit, or if what they have permissions to do. They can have permissions to maybe post content or have full admin control. It's up to you really, but it's really helpful to have different people who can step in as on your social channels, so that if someone's not working, someone's away, then all bases are covered really.
Yeah, and if you get like a customer query that comes in, you can jump on that quite nicely. So yeah, there's a few of you on the account, it's just really helpful. Okay, so that leads us nicely into, I guess, specific content ideas. So Charlotte's just mentioned about employee generated content where employees are shouting about their company or their working day, acting almost like influencers. But you should, I guess we should also talk about user generated content as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you've probably heard of influencers, big, famous celebrities shouting about your brand. I mean, it sounds sort of far-fetched, but it's something that you can do too on a really small scale by getting your users, your customers, to talk about you too. So how about asking your customers to share content and tag you in? Going back to the cafe idea, perhaps you can maybe put a sign up on your counter to encourage them to post their content of, well, you know, them enjoying a coffee in your cafe, and giving them a hashtag or an account, your account handle to tag. Then once they tag you, make sure then you share that from your business account. And when people see that you're sharing content that they've created, they really love it, and it makes them feel part of the brand and part of the community. And it's a great way of inviting your own customers to raise awareness of your business. It's a win-win, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about when to post? So we've talked about attaching posting to your regular routines, which is a nice idea if you're a super busy team. But does it really matter when you post?
Yeah, I mean, businesses spend a lot of time working out the best time to post, what day, what time of day, and it can get really, really complicated. But really what it comes down to is, you know, when you're a busy team, it's about what works best for you, what's going to keep you consistent, really, and what works best for your audience. Yeah, so those are the two fundamental things, really. We'll come on to scheduling your content later, so they can automatically post at preset times and days and times throughout the week. But even if you don't schedule your posts, it's really helpful to have like a calendar, even if it's just a sheet of paper on the wall of your business, just to remind you of the days and the times of day that you intend to post, just to keep you consistent and keep reminding you of what you're posting and when and who's doing it. Also think about, like, when you're doing that calendar, look at key dates, famous dates, like who knew that National Cupcake Day was 15th of December. If you know, relevant dates to your business, and incorporate those into your posting schedule too.
Yeah, brilliant. And so moving on to what to post, do you have any tips that you can share on how to structure a post itself?
Yeah, and themes as well. I mean, in terms of marketing, we talk about messaging pillars all the time, which is really about finding those key themes, maybe 4 or 5 key themes that are really important to your business. And it really helps to split out what those are, so that you can then work out a nice varied content ideas to post around. So it might be like your business story, a bit about you as a business and who you are, where you came from. Maybe your products, maybe it's your values, maybe you have a particular mission. What are those 4 or 5 messaging pillars that you want to sort of hook your content around? There's also, looking at format and structure. Obviously, it'll depend on which social channel you have in mind at the time. But when creating your posts, there are lots of free tools, lots of free or cheap tools actually there to help you. There's Canva that can help you create really visually engaging posts. There's a free version, as well as a quite a cheap one as well. We can use storytelling as well, tapping into people's emotions to create really engaging posts. But again, it's worth going back to the start and looking at what you're hoping to achieve by your posts, and making sure that your content is going to achieve this, really. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, okay, so I've written my post. I've added a nice image that I've either taken myself or I've got from somewhere like Canva or Pixlr or Unsplash, which have royalty-free images that you can use. Are there any final steps to take before you hit that publish button?
Yep. So I think there's also hashtags. So do a bit of research around the hashtags. What hashtags other businesses like yours are using? These are the things that you can put into posts to help them get found by people searching for content around those specific hashtags. Also, before you hit publish, sit back and look through your post and look at it through your audience's eyes. Would you engage with this post? If not, why not? But really, I mean, fundamentally, don't stress too much about it as well. Some of the most ad hoc, spur of the moment, spontaneous posts are just as engaging as pre-written, pre-scheduled, perfectly thought out and well-researched posts. So don't stress too much.
Yeah, definitely. And I always find that posts that have photos of people get the most engagement as well. So if you've got some people in your team that aren't shy to have their photo taken, definitely include those in your content as well. And it brings your story to life as well if you've got pictures of the team there. Another handy tip I like to share when thinking about content ideas is to think of all the different ways you can share one piece of content. So for instance, if you're carrying out a renovation or a transformation, if it's a community business and you're taking it over, you can share this in so many different ways. You can tell the story of why you're renovating in the first place, how you've come to take over the business. You can share behind the scenes photos and videos of the project underway. You can share a teaser on the reveal. You can write a LinkedIn newsletter with the before and after photos, as well as promoting the new opening or the new look separately. You can ask your online community to share feedback about what they think of the new space or tag you in their photos when they visit. And these pieces of content can be shared not only on your social media, but you can share the same content on your website, your internal newsletters if you send those, email newsletters to customers, and even in the local press if that's appropriate. And just make sure you're just maximising the exposure of your brand through that one content idea. Which, unless you had anything to add there, Charlotte, or
No, that's all good.
yeah, which I guess brings us on to scheduling. So if you're happy posting, you're creating your content, you're engaging with the community, you might be ready to start scheduling some posts ahead of time. But Charlotte, can you give us some advice on where we should start with scheduling posts in advance?
Yeah, so there are some free platforms out there you can use, such as Meta Business Suite these are for Facebook and Instagram only, where you can write your post, add an image or video, then schedule it for the future. Most social channels themselves allow you to build your post and either save as a draft or schedule it for later too. You can then dip back into your drafts you've created in advance and check and change it, or be really organized and send them live and send them to schedule out for later in the week. There are also some third-party scheduling tools out there that allow you to schedule using a sort of calendar sort of platform. You link your social channels to the platform and then create your content in there. But most of these platforms will limit the number of channels you can put on them, or the number of posts you can create. So you just need to sort of work out what the best platform is for you to use. If you're hitting the capacity of these free platforms and you want to start posting on multiple channels at the same time, then you might need to paid for subscription to some of these platforms. Canva, where you can create content using some really great templates, allow you to schedule the posts direct to your channels too. But this is only available in Canva Pro, which is about £10 a month. That said, this is available for free for non-profits as well. So check out if you might be eligible as well. Other platforms out there can charge up to £50 and sometimes more per month. So might be out of budget, but just look around there. It's also possible to stick with the free platforms, which is still pretty handy if you're not posting across loads and loads of accounts and you're not posting all day, every day.
Yeah, definitely. I think start with the free stuff, and then once you're hitting the limits, then you can look at maybe allocating some budget if you're really finding that it's working for you. But let's be honest, most of us will probably be using the free scheduling tools out there. So let's talk a little bit about why you'd want to schedule posts. Well, I guess you might not have the type of business where you can fit it into a regular routine. So you might decide to go ahead by scheduling a few at a time when you do have a moment. You also might be going on holiday and want to keep your customers engaged while you're off. You might want to share a nice Christmas message, for example, but don't want to be worrying about creating a post on Christmas Day while you're trying to cook your dinner. So it's great for short-term or temporary posting, and it's also a great way to share public announcement across multiple channels all at the same time. if you're launching a product or sharing a company update, for example. But either way, we'd still absolutely recommend a mixture of scheduled and ad hoc or spontaneous posting. This keeps your profile fresh, a bit more real, a bit more organic. This means that you can react to current events and trends. And don't forget to engage with other posts while you're on there as well. So if you're spending 5-10 minutes drafting your post, just spend another minute or so just having a look to see what's coming up on your feed, and whether it's relevant to engage with as your brand.
Yeah, there's also evergreen content as well. So this is content that can be posted at any time and it's still relevant. So this could be a post about your company, when your company was founded, a bit about your backstory, some of your most popular products and services that aren't going anywhere as well. Having evergreen content's a really great way of just reusing that content over and over again, and takes a lot of the work away from trying to come up with fresh new content every day when you're busy doing other things. It also then frees up time so that you can dedicate time to kind of engaging in your customers who are actually commenting on your posts as well. So that part is a really important overlooked bit of social media, is actually like engaging with the people who are engaging with you too. So yeah, by creating that evergreen content, you're freeing up some more time to do that. Or jump on a customer query. In fact, if someone's got an urgent query that they're asking you via social, then you've got time to jump on those queries too.
Exactly. And rather than saying you've got to spend half an hour at lunchtime, if you can dedicate 5-10 minutes in the morning, 5-10 minutes in the afternoon, or when it's quiet, you're answering those, for instance, those customer queries as they come through as well. Brilliant. So I guess the best way to know if your social media strategy is working is to check out the results to see how it's actually performing. So without getting super technical, which analytics do we think are the most useful for small businesses growing their social media channels?
Yeah, again, it's about not overcomplicating it too much, but going back really to the start and those goals that you set for your social media to begin with. So some of the things that you can measure are anecdotal things, like, if one of your goals was to post 3 times a week, for example, you can judge for yourself whether you've achieved that goal or not. Other things are metrics that social media analytics reporting can help you with. So within the actual social accounts themselves, they can tell you what your follow account was, what your engagement rates are, and what your reach and impressions are. So let's look at those individually. Then your follow account, this is really helpful to see how your audience is increasing or not, but hopefully it will be. Has your number of your followers increased, and therefore your reach to your audience? If you're posting regularly, it should be increasing, but you can just keep an eye on that every month or every week. Engagement, this is your likes and comments and shares, people that are really engaging with your content. You can drill down into this and look at and be a bit more clever about which posts people are most engaged with. Do more of those and do less of the content that people are not engaging so much in. There's also your reach and impressions. This is like people that might not necessarily be engaging in your content, but they're still seeing it. So it's quite good at like differentiating between the two as well. Just because people aren't engaging with your content doesn't mean they're not seeing it. So Instagram and Facebook have their own built-in analytics, which help track some of these things. Now, it's interestingly, small businesses that use these tools, use analytics effectively, do see a 25% improvement in their content performance, because it helps them to really kind of do more of what's working, do less of what's not. It really helps them get a bit more clever about their social strategy. So it's really important to check in with what's working and what's not, whether that's weekly, probably more likely sort of monthly, really. You can then really hone in on your style, your tone of voice, and then start getting a bit more clever about your personality and your rhythm of posting as well.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, just see what's working and see what's not working. You don't even have to go into the analytics. You can scroll back through your own feed and see what posts have been liked, what posts have seen loads of comments. And as you said, just see if you can replicate that in a slightly different way, because that's just answering what your followers are wanting to see. So that is actually a whistle-stop tour of our social media advice. So we hope that was useful and it gave you some ideas on what you can do for your own businesses. We'd love to have any questions if there are any. If you want to add them into the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and ask the question directly, please go ahead. We do have some through that have been sent through in advance. So if we go to those first, gives anyone any time to drop any comments in the box. If you're not comfortable dropping it in the chat, message us directly afterwards. We'll put up our contact details at the end. But Adrienne emailed us, and she runs a small community shop and is responsible for social media activity. And they'd like to know if we have any time-saving hacks. So hopefully we've covered some of those ideas in the session. But other ideas you could try would be to take lots of photos when and where you can, almost build your own little library of content that you could share on social media. So these can be kind of great for evergreen posts, or if you just needed something generic to have in the background of some text, for example, if you're putting that over on your image. And the same applies to drafting text as well. So sometimes you can struggle for a bit of inspiration or what you want to write. So when you have those moments where you think, okay, great, these are the kind of things that I could write about, just have a little notes folder on your phone and you can jot down some ideas. And then you've got a little bank of post ideas to draw upon when you've got time to create a post. And also, the more that you do it, the more you'll see other inspiration, follow similar brands on social media. You'll get loads of ideas. And it does save you time drafting them a few at once as well. So if you're creating a post, going back to that resharing the same content idea, you could try creating a few posts, post images at the same time, saving them in drafts, and then you can reshare that same post a few weeks down the line. Just by tweaking the image and tweaking the text, you're sharing brand new content as far as the users are concerned, but actually you've not had to create too much and had to start from scratch. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea. We've had one in the chat. So I'll just jump up. So Imogen has asked how to take social posts to the next level when you feel that only people liking and engaging are family and friends and not necessarily new customers. That's a good question.
Yeah, really good question. Now, it would be interesting to know what business you're running. But regardless, I think it's worth actually just asking. Like, some people just forget that their audience are real people, their customers are real people. They can just ask them, like, what would they like to see more of? Maybe hand out like a survey, for example, or just to ask customers, really, what would you like me to be doing more posts, more content on, or actually have that as a post on your social itself. Just ask, and you might be really interested to find out, really more surprised to find out what people come back with. It could be a really good way of getting some ideas as well. Also, again, like, look to similar businesses. What are they doing? Do a bit of snooping to see what everyone else is doing, and feel like there's no harm in just nicking a few ideas and running with them. Actually, everyone's doing it. You've just got to, like, keep up with what people are doing. If the content you're posting at the moment isn't really resonating, then ask and snoop, I think.
Yeah, and absolutely. And don't disregard your family and friends. They're liking and engaging with your posts. They're still sharing it with their own feeds. Mm-hmm. So I hear you there. I hear, it's just my mum liking on my Facebook post. But don't worry too much. And also, the more you get into your stride, you'll find your style, you'll find what makes you unique, and just keep going with it. Keep that consistency, and keep showing up regularly online. And you will build traction eventually. Like, it will just happen. So just keep with it. And don't be afraid to try new things as well. You know, just because you found a formula that works doesn't mean that it's always going to work as well. So yeah, just keep looking for inspiration.
Boutique bell tent hire, Imogen, sounds fab.
Wow.
More bells. I'll be looking.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Look at other similar to you and just see what they're
similar to you.
Feels
Also,
very
people are,
visual.
yeah, I was going to say, and people are very, if people are staying, that might be a great one for kind of user generated content. And then if they see that you've shared that you could reshare their post, but then you could also ask if you could use that image directly on your own feed, so that you could create, you're posting content that's come from the business account, but actually the images and the story behind who's in the photo or what the event was for, you know, is actually from the user. So then hopefully that they engage, they see that they've been shared on the main business account, which would be, yeah, which is really nice. People love that engagement. Should we go to the next one? Molly says, when you mention engaging with other content from Facebook page, is this just other local businesses or should we be following individuals and customers too? We're a community centre, library and shop. Everyone, you can engage with, you can follow individuals and customers, absolutely. A lot of people say for Instagram, they'll follow you, you can follow back. And if you're a community centre and you're engaging with the community directly, individuals, then that's lovely. That's exactly what I think that really suits your brand. If people comment and mention you that they were there, then comment back and say it was great to see you or whatever. But yeah, definitely keep engaging with local, with customers as well as local businesses, because local businesses can share your profile and they can share it that way at that level, which will share directly to their followers, but also individuals, definitely.
Yeah. And there's one from Maria saying, how would you go about finding your audience, from whether that's what platform they're using to where they are in that platform?
Nice. What's your business, Maria? Because that would be interesting to know and see if we can get quite specific for you. But again, so we'll just see if she replies back.
I think it's about within your business having really clear, clearly telling people where, like what social channels you're on as well, so that then you can then they can sort of find you easily. Talking to your customers again, like finding out like a bit more about who they are and what they are. You're not just your existing customers, but also what's your ideal customer. Profiling them, looking at like, where are they, younger, are they older, what social channels are they most likely to be. It's a bit of guesswork, but what channels are they most likely to be on.
Yeah, and if you've got friends and family that are similar demographic, you can always just ask them what they're looking at as well, kind of see what's on there. I mean, community groups on Facebook, things like that are great because you can actually see who their profiles are and you can kind of see if they match your audience. But again, okay, I work for Good Finance, a platform that aims to help social enterprises and charities navigate the world of social investment. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, my first thing there is thinking of LinkedIn. I don't know about you, Charlotte, if that sounds like a good profile. So it's people might be on there. A lot of people are on LinkedIn, and if they're looking to get into social investment and to help social enterprises and charities, the chances are that those social enterprises and charities are on LinkedIn looking for businesses. So that might be something that you can do with your newsletters. You could produce content that is, you know, free advice. If you've got any helpful tips, you could share advice that you've shared on your website on LinkedIn directly, and then you can share that. That might be quite useful. And again, you can then post about the newsletter on LinkedIn. But again, it's mainly about where you feel comfortable, where you could dedicate the time to do your own research as well. Charlotte, is there anything else?
With this one, it's with LinkedIn as well. It's about reaching out to those people, like, you know, Social Enterprise UK, for example, and seeing what they're doing. Mention them in your post so that you're then reaching their audience as well. So it's sort of finding out who those key players are on LinkedIn as well, and just kind of joining the community, as I said before, and looking at the hashtags that those people are using as well, so that your audience will be using, hopefully looking out for those hashtags too.
Yeah, definitely. We've got another one that says website platforms like Wix have features that automate posting. Is this a good idea, and are there any negative aspects of using these features? I wouldn't say, the only thing I would say about automatic posting and scheduling really far in advance mainly is just keep in mind what you've got posted, and if anything topical comes up and that you think, actually, I scheduled that weeks ago and it's gone out on a day that maybe isn't quite suitable. That's the biggest kind of issue that I kind of look out for. But in terms of negative aspects of using these features, if it's something that's, included in however you're building your website, and you can do some automated posting, as long as it sounds and reads like a human, and it feels natural and it works for you, then absolutely take advantage of all the tools that are out there.
Yeah. An interesting one from Imogen, doing research today for a community shop and cafe in Kirtlington. Some villagers love the idea, but there's a small audience of dissenters. So how do we stop public rows really on social? I think, yeah, a big, an important one with community management. I think some groups, I think Facebook allow you to, you've got to vet them beforehand, right, Maisie? And I think there's a way of setting them up so that you can vet people before they join the community group, and you can get them to read your guidelines. You can sort of draw up some guidelines, some rules of engagement, really, if they join your Facebook group, for example. So that if you don't adhere to them, then they get booted off. Those sort of things. Just sort of just the ideas around sort of respecting and not being abusive on your community group, for example. You can't. I mean, it's nice to have a forum where people can discuss these issues and air their grievances. But if it starts to get really tricky, then have some rules of engagement drawn up beforehand, and where you can try and manage that up front. Yeah,
definitely. It's one of those tricky things with community groups. You want them to be engaged, but inevitably there'll be always people that just are very strong advocates for what they want to talk about, and they're very vocal, and that's absolutely fine. That's freedom of speech, and we're all for it. But having a little, even you could use a pinned image. So sometimes on some of the platforms you can pin an image to the top of your profile. Create a lovely little image, put it in your banner image that are your rules of engagement. If you don't follow these rules, we're going to be very politely kicking you out. And you can always comment. You can switch off comments as well on posts, so as admin. So if you're finding it's getting out of control and you think, whoa, we need to just rein this back in, you can switch off comments, and then you can just say, look, drop a note, say we've switched off comments because this conversation has gone as far as it will go. So there are ways to moderate it if you are admin for community groups or pages and things like that. So yeah. Was there any other questions that we had coming in? Oh, we've got Kevin raising his hand. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Maisie. Thanks. Really interesting. Thanks very much. And I'm glad I spotted Tom's invitation to this. So it's good to see it's worked. I've got a couple of quick questions, really. Policies and processes for monitoring what people are doing. I mean, I look after all our channels, but I've got a young lady helping me, but I've introduced a policy. I just wonder if anybody else had got tips and guidance for updating their policy, particularly.
So for team members posting on social,
absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you want to give them enough freedom and to be able to post, but then also you need it to be in line with the brand. So going back to kind of creating those guidelines, you can look at that as almost a set of rules, and as long as it's detailed enough, you can then if you do find that they're kind of going off and it's not quite on brand, you could just say, look, you need to just keep referring to that, but be specific in your guidelines. Say, we do not comment on political beliefs, we do not comment on anything that's celebrity endorsed. I don't know what it might be, but you can create basically just a list of do's and don'ts, and you can be very prescriptive. And I think especially younger teens or individuals, if they have a clear set of rules, they know exactly where they stand, and then they'll just feel more confident. But there's a balance, because you don't want to give them too many rules where they feel like, oh, they're at risk of doing something wrong, because you want it to be like a natural conversation, and you want to encourage them to post their own content as well. So yeah, if anyone's got any more advice on that, then I'd love to hear it. I don't know if Charlotte's got anything else that you'd add to.
I agree. It's just having those guidelines really well outlined and shared, and maybe just remind people of them. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Do we have any more? We've probably got time for another one. I will share the link to the recording. Yes, don't worry. The session is being recorded, and I'll email it out to all of the attendees that have registered, and you'll be able to share that. We'll get it up on our YouTube, so it'll just be a link, so you can share that with any of your team members as well. And again, if you think of any more questions. Oh, okay, we've got one more. Are there any don'ts you'd recommend to be aware of for social media platforms? For example, I've heard deleting stories posts on Instagram will make the algorithm decrease engagement on future posts. This might not be true. I've not heard of that, decreasing your engagement. Instagram and platforms like that, where there is obviously a strong algorithm with what works and what doesn't work. Basically, if you are reaching enough people and they are engaging with it, the algorithm basically just then refeeds that in. So it's tricky to kind of go viral, to be viral, and all of that kind of, which comes first. But I would just, for the sake of small businesses and charities, just stay true to who your brand is and what your content is, and don't worry too much about ruining the algorithm. If you're reaching your audience and they're engaging on your post, great. And if not, mix up the content. Try different types of content. So if you're only doing images, try some videos, try some lives if you can, and stories. But there are there's just and they're always changing as well, I'd say, with social media. Just when you think you've probably cracked the algorithm, they'll mix it up. So the best way is to be authentic to your brand, and just keep telling your story, and being truthful to your brand. Anything to add to that one, Charlotte? Or we got time for anything? Who's skipping ahead?
Well, I'm just looking through. Someone's just asked about draft guidelines. I've put some top tips up there from Hootsuite, which is one of those scheduling platforms with draft guidelines there that you can look at.
There's a video featuring Webmart for our Net Zero project. Lovely. Thank you for sharing that.
Kevin, where are you based? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I couldn't get my mouse. Yeah, I run the Business Village, which is just above you in Redbrook, in Barnsley. So we run an innovation centre, but we ran a Net Zero Accelerator, which was probably what Simon first got involved with through your own sustainability agenda. So you are probably our first B Corp business, I think, that we supported.
Oh, lovely. Fantastic.
All right.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's probably all we've got time for. So thank you so much for everyone joining us live. Thank you so much for anyone that hasn't been able to and you're watching on demand. As I said, I will be sharing the recording. Please get in touch, marketing@webmartuk.com. We'll answer any of your questions if you haven't been able to add them live. We're obviously on social media. You can give us a follow at Webmart. You'll be able to find us. And if you like this session, then please look out for more future webinars on our Eventbrite page, which is hopefully how you signed up today. But that's everything. So thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, we'll catch you next time.